I'm a little mystified by the thought process used by the mayor to determine who the next commissioner will be on the Chestertown Historic District Commission. This is especially perplexing in that he is overlooking the knowledge, skills, and qualifications of an eminent expert in the field of historic preservation, Cherilyn Widell. Ms. Widell is a 20-year resident of Chestertown and property owner in the historic district. She has over 45 years of ever-increasing experience in all phases of historic preservation. She was the California State Historic Preservation Officer appointed by the governor. She is the co-founder and first executive director of the Maryland Association of Historic District Commissions and is well respected with current staff at the Maryland Historic Trust, which is the parent organization for Chestertown's Historic District Commission. I have provided all of you at your desk with a summary of her experience in historic preservation. Her application package was emailed to you. Most importantly, her expertise is needed on the HDC to maintain the Chestertown's Certified Local Government, CLG certification, because there needs to be at least 2 members on the HDC who possess the professional or academic training in history, architectural history, architecture, historic architecture, or archaeology. The CLG continues, quote, each certified jurisdiction will make a reasonable effort to locate and appoint such a professional and will provide written information to the state describing how this effort was carried out, unquote. You have a copy of the appropriate page for the guidelines that I've provided you. It is very important for the Chestertown to maintain its CLG because having a certification allows the town to apply for grants that are not available to other non-CLG towns in Maryland. In addition, if the town lost its CLG certification, it would be a black eye on the town that has been designated on the National Historic Register.
The mayor has now announced his intention to nominate a candidate tonight for the existing vacancy on the Historic District Commission, and he said who that's going to be. But there are 2 candidates, one far better qualified than the candidate to be nominated by Mayor Foster. The point I want to make to the council tonight is that you, the council members, are absolutely under no obligation to accept Foster's nominee. In fact, you have an independent obligation to ensure that the HDC candidate meets the mandatory professional training and experience requirements set out in state, federal, and local ordinances. You've already heard that Chestertown participates in the Certified Local Government Program and that it has an additional requirement. This is very specific and important. At least 2 of its members must have professional or academic training in history, architectural history, architecture, history, historic architecture, or archaeology. That's a federal requirement. Our HDC currently has no member who can meet this requirement, and in fact has not met this requirement since Ed Minch, then an HDC commissioner, died in 2021. The incumbent seeking reappointment does not, and indeed cannot, meet this requirement, but the other applicant clearly does and has met this requirement. As an elected official, you have a duty to assess for yourself each of the HDC candidates. If you feel unable to assess these candidates, resources are available from the state. You can ask the Maryland Historical Trust, which administers the CLG program, to review the candidates for you. Selection of an HDC member is not complicated. It's completely driven, as it should be, by the credentials of the applicants. One applicant entirely outshines the other academically and professionally. One has a troublesome history of 22 recusals for conflicts of interest during a 3-year period, plus at least 8 more times when recusals should have been made but were not. That's 30 or more recusals in 36 months. Also, there's no urgency in this nomination. The vacancy can remain open so you can do your due diligence. The incumbent's term has expired, and the HDC will simply be 1 commissioner less for the next month or so, as it's frequently been in the past.
Hello.
Hello.
Everyone. I'm Nancy McGuire, and I live on Mill Street within the Historic District. I have represented many historic buildings in several historic districts in Maryland in my decades as a realtor broker specializing in historic properties. I've lived and seen the impact, both positive and negative side, of an historic district commission's decisions. I sat on the HDC. May I call attention to the practical side of our historic district and the importance of the quality of our historic district commission. After working so closely with those who call an historic district home, I feel there are special expectations. Those property owners are normally knowledgeable and discerning. They are constantly very aware of changes within a district, good and bad, and those that are questionable. Those property owners are aware of the quality of decisions made by an HDC. Not only are we an historic district, Chestertown is, and this is very important, a national historic landmark. We share this designation with only 2 other towns in the state of Maryland, which I don't think a lot of people know. It is rare when such a qualified person applies for a seat on the Historic District Commission. I implore you to think carefully, set aside any inclinations, and consider the quality of the HDC.
I'm going to say right off the bat that Rebecca Murphy is my wife. I am an architect in town. I have 25 years of experience. I am licensed in this state. I work here a lot, and I'm on the Historic District Commission many times in terms of projects. And I'm saying all that because
Just qualify, you're on the commission or
no,
you
I
present to?
I present, and I'm saying
Sure.
all that for full disclosure because
Sure.
I don't want anybody jumping down my throat later. First thing I'm going to say is this is a reappointment. This is not a new, anything new. Rebecca's already been on there for 1 term. Second thing is I have to question the timing of all this. There were, first of all, there's been many reappointments over the years. Nothing new. In fact, there were 2 over the summer last year, including the current chair. I question why all this opposition now, and I know why, but the thing is that the opposition is difficult, and when you have a commissioner that is on there now, volunteer and a board member of the organization chaired by a person that is the primary opposition here, that's never been disclosed. This is difficult and
1 minute, John.
upsetting. Thank you. The other thing is, economic development. Yes, absolutely. We should absolutely be talking about economic development as much as the buildings. All right, it's extremely important. HDC is thriving and looking better than ever, unlike some of the testimony you've heard tonight. Look at Park Row. Look at High Street, look at Cross Street, look at Cannon Street. It's doing great, and I think that the commission has done a great job and has through the years. Last thing is, you commissioners have an obligation and responsibility to listen to the public, which you are doing. You are not obligated to bow to bullying, and that is what is going on. This timing is undoubtedly to satisfy a personal agenda. And I'm tired of it.
And it's the only time I ever bought a property, agreed to buy a property without having seen it. I was so enchanted by living in Chestertown. And as important as those 3 factors were, the river and the college and the historic buildings, I subsequently found that there was another factor, at least as important and even more important. And that was the people who live in Chestertown, the remarkably talented people. People on our staff, people who are volunteers on our committees. I agree, we need to call in professionals from time to time. We have a professional town manager trained for this. But volunteers really make this town go. And I feel forever indebted to them. And I will back our staff and our volunteers up to the hilt. Some of you may think I do that in excess, but I am committed to that. With the case of Rebecca Murphy, she has served under 2 mayors, 2 town managers, 2 committee chairmen for the Historic District Commission, and worked with nearly a dozen colleagues on the Historic District Commission. I have not gotten a complaint from any of those people. Does she have the resume of Cherilyn Widell? No, I'm not claiming that. Does she have the academic background in historic preservation that Cheryl had? No. None of our current people do. We do have people who meet, by our reading, at least the minimum requirements on that. One is Samantha Holloman. One is Victoria Smith. And many of these things are judgment calls, but if you will go through, they list 11 criteria, and I'm confident that these two people do. I am not asking, you all had your chance to say your piece. Thank you very much. Okay? I am so committed to the volunteers, to the staff, and to the process. We are partway through a process on the armory. And to change horses in the middle of the stream and yield, every one of you is well-intentioned. But the image this gives, oh, if you don't like it, just change the jury partway through. I think we would invite more contempt for our action by making that change. I'm sorry I mistook somebody in the audience for Cherilyn Widell. Maybe that's my eyesight. But I did have a very good meeting with her. And interestingly, one of the things went through, and I said, gee, I really wish that somewhere in the past 18, 20 years that you had let us know that you were available. Just like Mr. Saywell heard that we announced about the tree committee that somebody had come up. I'm appreciative to Ms. Jorgenson for having brought her to our attention. We had a very good meeting, and I committed that we would like to use her. Pending the agreement of the Historic District Commission, I think she could provide right now, would be invaluable in providing training for the people on that Historic District Commission. And when a true vacancy comes up, I would readily appoint. But no, I'm not going to yank out somebody. I've had an amazing number of comments from people, all well-intended. One person said we need new blood. I've appointed 4 new people in the 2.5 years I've been here. I don't know what constitutes new blood. Same time, we reappointed Victoria Smith, Barbara Brown, with no discussion whatsoever. Nobody said, oh, Cherilyn is just down the street. Somebody else. They had adequate resumes, but the only other resume that I have seen that compares to Cherilyn Widell's is John Seidel's. And those were comparable. So with that in mind, I propose to nominate Rebecca Murphy